Hello and welcome to another presentation of In the Money Media. It's Nahu Mikey P, Mike Pribozie, and we got a huge carryover for Wednesday at Keeneland. Late pick five, not early pick five, late pick five for Keeneland on Wednesday. Over 300,000 in the carryover pool. And who better to give us a little rundown here than two of my good friends here that we've been doing a couple of these video players podcasts. Justin Christein, Will Humphrey, welcome back to In the Money Players podcast for Keeneland.
Good to be back, Mike.
Great to be back. Thanks for having us back on.
So, Will, you're hanging out at Del Mar. I know you're doing some Breeders' Cup prep for the Graham Motion Stable. You showed me a little picture of the weather out there. So, little early jump on Breeders' Cup this year for you.
Yeah, I arrived at about midnight last night and found that my Airbnb is about 2 furlongs or so from the backstretch. So I'm planning on sitting out on the balcony on Friday evening and watching the juvenile races from the comfort of my own home, which will be cool.
Yeah, absolutely amazing that you're out there and to get your perspective. Justin, you're hanging out just at home like me. This is how we live, but we're going to give some awesome advice here. Hopefully, give you some winners for this late pick five at Keeneland on Wednesday, October the 23rd. We're going to jump right into it. Now, it's the last 5 races, so starts in race number 4. Now, 50 cent pick 5. You can play 50 cent minimums. Big pot to shoot for, 300,000 in the carryover pool. I would imagine they're going to bet over 2 million into this pool, Justin. Race number 4.
Yeah.
32 claimers, mount a 16th on the dirt. How are we going to kick it off?
Yeah, this is to me, this is one of those races where you either take a stand or you use a bunch. So the morning line favorite is the 9 Underdressed, who I guess could win, but from out there and tactical speed, but not enough speed to get up on the pace early. So I'm not thrilled about that horse. I'm gonna take a stand in this first leg, and I'm gonna use as my lone A the 5 Strava for Norm Cassie, second off the layoff after not really showing much at Saratoga. But that day it was very speed favoring. He raced against Aero Smash and Costa Terra for Linda Rice. Those horses would be obviously 1 to 5 in here. So, and I think the drop makes sense, guys. He's they claimed him for 80. The purse is nearly $70,000 in this race. He gets the lion's share of that winner's purse, and then if he gets claimed for 32, which I feel like he probably will. Their connections are in pretty good shape here. So 4-1 morning line. I suspect he'll go off favorite. I think he gets a really good trip behind the speed, and second off the layoff. He runs back to either of those Oak Lawn races, 3 and 4 back. That puts him clearly in the winner's circle. So I'm going to lone A with him. If I was going to back up, I would use the 6 Rocco Strong as a B. I would use the 10 CFV Bullet as a 3. Armando Hernandez is 3 for 5 at Keeneland with a gaudy ROI of something like over $10. So I would definitely back up with those 2. And then, the rest, I would probably leave off.
I agree on Strava. I know that Will is going casting a wide net in this race, but I'm going to shrink. I think Strava is the right one here. Just the drop. The previous lines, when he's right, he's probably supposed to win this race. If I was going to back up, it'd be with the 7, Huge Bigley, 12-1 morning line. And I just think that this horse fits versus these horses. And his races are solid, has a win over the racetrack. You look back to those Oaklawn lines at distances back in March and April, raced really well with bigger numbers. And, this is the kind of horse that I don't mind in for 32. I want horses like this that might be close and fit at the level. He's going to be a price, and he probably needs to race his best, but he's proven over the track. So if Strava doesn't race well, I do think that one has a chance. I'm against the 9. It's just his best races are at Indiana, and the races other places, I'm not that crazy about. Now, the horse does like to win. 7 for 33, probably takes money, but I'll be against. Will, I know that you're cast pretty wide here.
Yeah, I mean, Justin mentioned earlier that this is a race where you got to take a stand or throw throw a wide net, and I ended up throwing a wide net. You guys have covered most of the horses that I was landed on here. Strava would also be my top pick. I mean, he's the definition of inconsistent, but when he puts it all together, he is pretty decent, and his best or anywhere near his best should really be good enough to win this race, I think. I would also take. I'm not crazy about the 5-1 morning line, but I would take some interest in Showtime for Jade Cunningham and Tyler Gaffalione. I think it's noticeable that Tyler Gaffalione sticks with this horse. He's 2 for 2 on the colt. The big concern would be the stretch out again in trip, but first of all, I mean, this horse is by into mischief, and second down actually was Flute, who won the Kentucky Oaks. And when you go back to his Santa Anita form, when he was trained by Richard Mandela, he broke his maiden over a mile, and he's got some really strong back class there. And Gaffalione took him from off the pace to win 3 starts back for 40,000. And I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think that this horse is a need the lead type. And in the hope that he does float up a little bit off the morning line, again, I think, it's hard to trust anyone in here. And he could just land in the right spot.
Let's go to race 5, going to the grass, main special weights, going for 100, mile and a 16th. I liked this race. I thought that you could maybe shrink down a little here. The 10 bird watching probably be a big favorite, coming off 2 second-place finishes, 2 solid buyers for Delacour. Now draws outside, and James Graham is sort of jockey kryptonite for me. So I don't know. He's looks like the best on paper. 6-5 morning line. You haven't seen too many of those at the meet from Nick Tamero, and I think a lot of money will find that horse. But if you watch the trip the last time on the 6, one front war, really wide the entire way around the racetrack, and she kicked down the lane. If you watch her, she tries the entire way down the lane, and she kept coming. Now I know she ended up finishing 6th in there, but I just like the way she raced. I didn't mind the first race at Woodbine back in July. That would be play heavy on my tickets. The 6, one front war. Will, where did you go here in race number 5?
You stole my thunder. I was very tempted to single the 6, one front war. I mean, bred all day to stretch out in trip to this 2-turn test, and has been shaping exactly that way. I thought that both of her starts have been very creditable, and again, completely against the track bias, off the pace and wide at Kentucky Downs last time, but made a really nice visual impression, and might make 2 sprints to a route. With maidens, he hits a 26%, which is a stat that I like the sound of. So as I say, I'd near enough single the 6, but just in a race of this nature, I'd also include the 4, My Brazilian Girl, who gets back onto the turf with first-time Lasix. 2 really good efforts on the turf so far to date. Including only being beat 2.5 lengths in the Teffin Stakes at Churchill Downs in June. And if she can run back to something like that, she should go very close as well.
Justin, I know you singled first leg. You look a little spready here.
Yeah. The 6, one front war has now got a lot of weight on her. I know I was listening to the Steve Bick show today, and that was his top pick. That was Nick Tamero's top pick. Marcus Hirsch in the Daily Racing Form made this horse his best bet of the day. You guys are both on it. So I think in 6-1 is probably not going to happen. I will just reiterate what Will said, because I think it's important. That first day, especially at Kentucky Downs, was, I thought, very speed favoring. And so, this horse raced against the track, and Luis Saez is going to have this horse up on the pace, no doubt about that. So I could definitely see that horse winning. I had a little bit of trouble with this race. I don't know. I thought the 2 had a chance to win. I thought the 3, although I couldn't find that much turf in the pedigree, probably is going to be on the lead. The 4, I couldn't make a case for it 4-1 with a trainer that I don't know, and Julian Leperoux in the saddle. I'd have to use the 6. The 10, I think, if you're playing this pick 5, which is going to be a huge pot, I don't think you can leave the horse off, although I don't trust this horse. 98 cents on the dollar last time, and couldn't get it done. So my gut says something weird might happen here. I don't have the bankroll to cover the whole race, but I certainly will cover as many as I can. I'm going to start with the 2, 3, 6, and 10, but as I craft my ticket, I'll throw in as many more as I think might have a chance to even win. So this is a confusing race for me. I don't have as much conviction as you guys do.
Race 6, Mount and 8th here. Second wire for any jockeys that might be interested in that. 2X, 125 optional claiming tag. Will, give us the winner here for race 6.
I'm going to try Landed in the hope that she can get to the lead and take this group gate to wire. It's hard to knock this filly. She's never finished out of the money. She's on a 3-race win streak. And Timeform US has the 9 Audacious as being up on the pace, but I was there at Laurel that day. If Todd Pletcher sends one to Laurel, it's really not that good. And she was close enough to the pace, but she was struggling to keep up. And I think, this is a big, scary field that, at first glance, but I think there's a lot of, filler fodder in here. And with Lasix going back on for John Velasquez and Wes Ward, she won over course and distance here, 3 starts back, and has only, improved in her next 2 starts, winning New York bred stakes. She's won on off turf. She's won sprinting. She's won going 1 mile and an 1/8 last time. She's been freshened up. Comes into this race with a 59 of 4. Really nice work here at Keeneland on the 13th of October. I just think she's sitting on another big effort. Intricate is obviously her main contender on the morning line, but she's been heavily beaten in her last 2 starts, and with young fillies like that, that can sometimes dishearten them. Whereas Landed's going to be, feeling on top of the world at the moment, and I can just see her taking this field gate to wire once again.
Justin, what say you here? I agree with Will. 5 and 6 for me. It looked like you were very heavy on the 6.
Yeah, I echo everything that Will said. In fact, he laid it out perfectly. I think Landed goes right to the front. He doesn't look back. Second off the longish layoff. She's a fall 3-year-old now and probably just getting better and better. And my other strong opinion in this race is I'm against Intricate. I don't think she's the same filly as she was back in the late fall, early winter of last year. She certainly hasn't shown it. So, and I don't know, I think she's probably going to take money. I think she's probably going to stay favorite. Although it seems like Landed's getting a lot of support. So it might be close, but of those 2, I much prefer Landed. And I also agree with Will that I don't care much for Audacious, which would mean then, who is left? Maybe Everland, but she's a little bit one pace for my liking. So I'm cold A here on Landed, and I could see just a gate to wire romp.
Yeah, I think Landed looks tough to catch. Was able to win that open race back in April here, again on the fronts. But I mean, her figures don't exactly tower over these, so it's I do think that she probably is going to have to run her best, especially like you said, late in the year, 3-year-old fillies. Maybe somebody might jump up and improve here, and that's the rub. That's the thing. Can these classy ones outlast the ones that may be getting better? So the thing about Intricate is you get Lasix back. Top connections here. Certainly has danced some dances. Alabama, Coaching Club, Torpedo Anna, Power Squeeze, Tarifa earlier in the year. This horse beat Torpedo Anna back at Churchill last year in the Golden Rod. So obvious talent for a barn that's going very well, 7 for 34. I just think that maybe if her class shows up, that's going to be the deal breaker. Has a win over the racetrack. So it's hard to leave this horse off of tickets, especially with her class. and maybe the layoff gets back to a little bit of a better distance. There's a lot to like for me. And Landon, yeah, she controls it. She's been winning, but she does have some state bred lines, and the barn isn't quite going as well as maybe some of the other barns are. Landon's the one to beat, but I wouldn't leave Intricate off any ticket for me.
Yeah. There were murmurs that I think there's a race on Sunday at Aqueduct at a mile and a 16th or a mile and an eighth for state bred fillies.
There is a New York Day on Sunday. Yes.
Yeah. So there were some murmurs that maybe she was going to run there, but of course I get, we won't know that until tomorrow. If she comes out, that my ticket is blowing up because I don't have any real opinion except I'm against Intricate. So I would have to revamp everything if that was the case. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that she's going to stay home. She worked at Keeneland on the 13th, maybe something like that. On October 13th. So I don't know. She hasn't shown any signs of skipping town. Let's hope she stays.
Race 7, back to the grass, 5.5 condition allowance. They're going for 140,000. This is a nice race, very difficult. Will, where'd your eye go?
Again, I'd probably use the 1, 6, and 7 with my main play running through the 6 actually. I mean, I love these Mike Maker horses when he claims them. He can do wonders with this horse. And or with these horses, I'd be happy to toss that last start somewhat at Kentucky Downs. Didn't really break, got brushed around a little bit, and just sort of stayed on one pace. Another race, they went slow on the front, and I just struggle to trust that sort of form. But you look back at what he achieved beforehand. He's got some super form, including here at Keeneland. And sprinting on the turf with Lasix on, he's rock solid. I don't really know why we're getting 8-1 here, and he should, he's got tactical versatility. When I look at these 5.5 furlong races, I think you often get horses that go to the front and are speed bulls, but in the last 16th of a mile, they're sort of treading water a little bit. They want 5 furlongs flat, and you get the horses that come from the back and come with a late run but don't quite get there, and they really want 6 furlongs. And so I always sort of favor the horses that I think are going to be sitting that sort of mid-pack stalking trip, and that's exactly what this horse is going to do from the center draw. And at 8-1, I just think that would be tremendous value.
Anyone else in there?
Yeah, I mean, Arrest Me Red, he went gate to wire at Kentucky Downs last time in that same race. But he got away with pretty soft fractions on the lead, and he's just a horse that I don't really trust all that much, to be honest with you. On his best day, he's probably good enough to win, with Dettori getting, retaining the ride here. And I think I would use him probably quite defensively. And the other one that I would give some, probably include on there as well, would be Outdoor, who, with Lasix on sprinting on the turf, he's won 4 of his last 5, and he only missed by a neck last time out. He's just a really hard-knocking, solid horse, and he's going to be forward, sitting a nice trip from the center, and I think, with a little luck, he might be able to hang on for a slice.
Justin, looks like you have prices here.
Yeah, I like 215-1 morning lines. I think this race is completely wide open. I'm against Arrest Me Red. That race, Kentucky Downs, as Will said, the pace in that race completely held together. So I definitely want Mischievous Rogue the 6 and Sousa Summer the 12 out of that race rather than Arrest Me Red. My top pick's going to be the 2 Stitch. Now, Pratt gets on. You got to squint a little bit to see this. I'm just throwing out the race in June and the race in May. Obviously, something was amiss. He was no good. So Foley gave him some time off. But if you go back before that to the end of last year in the fall, the River City was a super hot pace. The Turf Mile, he faced up to the mark, Master of the Seas set piece. Even if you look at who he faced in May in the opening verse, Carl Spackler, Talk of the Nation, he's just been facing way better. I think the cutback helps. Pratt getting on obviously helps. And I think, in these races, these full fields of turf sprinters, I'm looking for the horse who I think is going to get the trip. And I think he's going to get the trip. I try to lean to the 2, 3, 4, 5 posts. And I can just see this one sitting on the rail in second flight, being able to swing out in the stretch. And I think he's going to have a kick coming off of a bunch of those 2-turn races. So, and that work on September 23rd, I watched on the Kentucky Bred website, and man, this horse looked good, full of himself down the lane, dragging the rider. And so, that gave me some more hope. And then the other one I like is Sousa Summer. And, the race at Kentucky Downs for a lot of the same reasons as Mischievous Rogue. That pace completely held together. His 2 bad races on his form are the Jaipur, where he was on a ridiculous pace. I mean, that was a suicidal pace that day. And the race before that at Keeneland, he had a terrible trip. If you go back and watch that, he had no chance. So if you go off his previous form, he's right in this. And he's going to have to negotiate a trip from the 12 hole, but Gaffleone's putting every horse in the exact right spot. Now, the drawback is Mott is not winning races anywhere. So, but you're getting 15-1, and I think you're probably going to get every bit of that. So I'm going to use the 2 and the 12 as A's, and I'll also use the 6 as an A for all the reasons that Will stated earlier. I'm going to be against Out the Door. I don't know. He doesn't do it for me. And I'm going to be against Arrest Me Red because of the slow pace in his last. I think you're supposed to play against those horses in next, and he's got the rail.
Well, I like a couple of those. I definitely don't mind Altador. I do think that he races at the track, a win in a third. I thought it was criminal he actually lost that last race. It was, horse came from a perfect trip to beat him. And he probably should have won there, but this horse is right in it all the time and certainly has enough speed, likes the track, has raced well since being claimed. So I do think that one is interesting here. I'm interested in the 10 here, Mustache, another Keeneland turf lover, 2 wins for out of 4 starts. Now you could toss that last race against Cogburn, really no chance there from the 11 post. Prior to that, raced pretty well at Ellis, raced well at Churchill. Has decent races, obviously, here at this track. So he fits. And that one's probably just off the pace. The barn's going well. I like horses that like this racetrack. So I'm interested in that one. I'm not going to get off Iman. I've been sort of chasing this one all year long. And really, the best race this horse ever raced was at Keeneland. Gets back to Keeneland. Is a closer on a closing biased racetrack. The turf has favored closers the entire meet. The form lines are terrible, honestly. They ship to Santa Anita, the Kentucky Downs race. I mean, there are lines here that really make him tough to like, but it gets back to maybe the preferred surface, could get a setup here, tons of speed. He's interesting to me. It would blow it up, really, if that one would get there. And I could use Arrest Me Red, third back, speed, Wesley Ward. Like last time was able to win there. That was a tough race also. A lot of people liked one-timer coming out of that race, has faced Cogburn this past year too. So another one that he's just okay. Plenty of class to that one though too. So I like a few in here. I would use 1. I'd use 5 a little bit, maybe as a B. I'd use the 7. I'd use the 10. I think it's pretty wide open there in race number 7. Let's finish up, and it's maiden specials, 2-year-old, 6.5. Will, how are we going to get paid?
I'm going to lean on the 12 in this spot for Amor Patrie, I think is how you meant to say it, for Jimmy DeVito. And my main angle in here is actually Jimmy DeVito, because he is one of the sharpest trainers you're going to come across, and he's a fantastic horseman. And when he knows he's got a good one, he knows he's got a good one. And this year, he seems to have really taken on a whole bunch of expensively purchased 2-year-olds, and they've been firing. He's won with his last 2 first-time starters at odds of 6-1 and 7-1 in Kentucky. And when you look at his stats over the last 5 years, with 2-year-old first-time starters that he runs in Kentucky, they usually fly somewhat under the radar because he's often taking on Brad Cox and the likes, the sexier outfits. But he doesn't take them there for a reason, and he's 5 for 20 with 2-year-old first-time starters in Kentucky in the last 5 years, including, as I say, with both of his most recent 2 with a $5.48 ROI. And I had a look at this Amor Patrie. Only one of his workouts was available to watch on video, and I really liked the way he covered the ground. I thought he looked big, strong, powerful colt. He comes into this race with a bullet 5/8 drill from the gate on 22nd of September. And interestingly, he actually worked 6 furlongs last time as well, which is something I really like to see. Pumping condition into these first-time starting 2-year-olds is essential. You often see, first-time starting 2-year-olds blitz some, show some good early zip, and then they get tired late on because they haven't got that match fitness underneath them. So I like the 6 furlong workout. And again, if Jimmy DeVito thinks that this horse is capable of competing with the likes of Brad Cox and on the Kentucky Derby, on the Kentucky circuit, I put huge stock in that. So I'd take a lot of interest in the 12. I'd be against the 10 actually, only due to the fact that Brad Cox, his first time starting 2-year-olds so far this meet have been hammered at the windows and have not done overly well. Tucci would be the obvious play in here, but when coming out of the Saratoga Special, but a 77 bar and a 68 bar, I think that's beatable. I think you sort of got to use that horse for Wesley Ward and Joel Rosario, but my main play would be the 12.
Justin, looks like you have a couple horses. You included the favorite, but maybe a couple prices also?
Yeah, I don't know. I was telling you guys before the show, the 4, I don't trust him. I don't know. He was supposed to win first out. He was all the buzz in that race on Belmont weekend, and he got beat by a horse who, quite honestly, isn't all that great. And that Tremont it came back not a very strong race, and in the Saratoga Special, he just flopped as the $1.80 favorite. I don't know what to expect from this horse. I would hate to get blown up on the last leg and not have him. So I am going to include him, but I don't trust him. I certainly wouldn't lean on him. I think the 8 Hitchcock has a big chance here, second time out for Peter, and his horses almost always improve second out. Now that race, what was the pace was fast early, and that Middy's Gritty, who won, came from 12th to win that race. So, this horse probably benefited a little bit from the pace of that race. But I think I'm a sucker for second-time starters. I think you have to use this one. And then Original Sin, the 10, I don't know. I throw out Brad Cox at your own risk. I'll be using them. I could also see maybe using the 9. I probably will use that 12 on Will's recommendation. Also, he caught my eye a little bit to begin with, and so Will's push is enough to probably allow me to include him. But I don't know. No strong opinions in here, Mike. How about you?
I mean, I'd be 3 deep to finish. I would use the 4 to Touchy. I think that one, 2 straight stakes races to start the career. Obviously, they think a lot of this one. And I do think that has been bet both times. Now the 6.5 is a little interesting here that they show up. Maybe that they just feel good about a little bit more distance for this one. And Rosario has been riding all along. I just think you need to use that one. I agree on the 8. I think that one's a use second out after that decent race at Churchill. 11 post first time out, took a little money for Urton. Saya sticks. There's a lot to like with that one. And I'll mention a horse you guys didn't, and that's the 6 Mo Quality. It's Christopher Davis, 3 for 7 at the meet so far, firing bullets over a Turfway. It's interesting that they show up here for a sire that does okay first time out. You get Jose Ortiz, which is another positive for me. I think that one's a use. I like Will's case on the 12, though. I wouldn't leave the 12 out after that case. I think that one is another one that needs to be used in a sequence that definitely is going to pay some money. So we have 300,000 in the carryover, and lots of big fields, wide open races, no real heavy favorites to lean on. Will, definitely getting involved here?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, my ticket would be a little bit more expensive than I would normally play, but when there's 300,000 on the line, I think it's hopefully, you'd hope that it's worth it. But it's a competitive sequence, it's not an easy sequence to play. And so, from time to time, you sort of feel like you have to cover your bases, I guess. But it's a great sequence. So hopefully we'll catch the ticket.
Absolutely. Justin, I know you like prices. Get some of those prices home. You're looking at a huge payout here, especially with that dead money.
Yeah. And I'll probably be won by the 5th race is the race that's really got me puzzled. So that would be the race where I'd use the most. And then I'd go 1 in the 6th. I'd probably squeeze it down to, I did probably just use my 2 price horses, the 215 the ones in the 7th. And then 4, 8, 10, 12 in the last. And that's a very, very affordable ticket. I try to be as tight as possible and just lean on my opinions. You get too spready, and then you're including all of them, and before you know it, it's if you're spreading all that much, I think you don't really have a clue about the race anyway. So I try to keep it tight.
Well, jump in late pick 5 for Wednesday. Huge carryover. If you like this video, certainly. Give us a little thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to In the Money Media. These 2 guys are working very diligently on the trip notes for Breeders' Cup, and we're going to have that for you on the plus side. So inthemoneypodcast.com/plus if you're interested. And we're going to do another show. It's not going to be live. You'll have to catch it on tape for Thursday's late pick 5. So if you're interested in that, catch us on YouTube or on your social media. And this has been a production of In the Money Media. Enjoy this pick 5 for Wednesday. Jump in, get some of that carryover money, cash some tickets. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks, guys, for doing this.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.